Hey there. So you're diving into Peter Thiel's Zero to One,
Yeah.
a book that's practically a Bible for Silicon Valley startups. It's packed with advice from Thiel himself, drawing on his experience,
Hmm.
building companies like PayPal and Palantir.
Right.
In this deep dive, we're going beyond the usual business book summary.
Okay.
We're extracting those golden nuggets,
Mm-hmm.
the ideas that'll really shift your thinking about innovation
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even spark some ideas of your own.
Right.
Right off the bat, Thiel throws down a challenge.
Okay.
What does real progress actually look like?
It's fascinating how he breaks it down. He talks about horizontal progress,
Okay.
which is basically copying what already works. Picture 100 identical typewriters.
Yeah.
Useful,
Yeah.
but not exactly pushing boundaries.
Okay, so 100 typewriters is more the same.
Right.
But what about going from a typewriter to, say, the first word processor? That
Right.
feels different.
Yeah.
A much bigger leap forward.
Exactly. That's what Thiel calls vertical progress.
Yeah.
Going from 0 to 1. Creating something truly new. And here's the thing. In a world obsessed with best practices and playing it safe,
Right.
Thiel wants us to aim for vertical progress, to break free from the pack and create something truly unique.
That's a powerful thought, especially for anyone feeling stuck in the rut of how it's always been done. It's
Yeah.
like, what if instead of just following the well-worn path,
Right.
we blazed our own trail?
And Thiel takes this idea even further, applying it to how we view globalization. You might think globalization is all about groundbreaking innovation,
Right.
but Thiel argues it's mostly horizontal. Think of China rapidly adopting technologies
Yeah.
that were already established in the West.
It's spreading existing ideas, which is important, but it's not the same as creating the internet, for example, which totally reshaped the world.
Right.
So are we missing out on those game-changing 0 to 1 moments?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Now, Thiel was right in the thick of the dot-com boom and bust,
Oh, yeah.
and he came away with some lessons that might surprise you. Everyone remembers the dot-com mania of the late 90s, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was a time of incredible excitement, but also a lot of hype.
Right.
And when the bubble burst,
Yeah,
it left many people wary of taking big risks.
it makes sense.
Thiel actually thinks that post-dot-com Silicon Valley became too cautious.
It's like everyone learned the wrong lesson.
Right.
Instead of focusing on what went wrong with bad ideas, they shied away from bold ideas altogether. You can almost picture Thiel shaking his head, urging people to be bolder.
Exactly. Thiel argues that instead of focusing on incremental improvements,
Right.
we need to think bigger to create entirely new markets. He believes that real value comes from those 0 to 1 leaps, not just refining what already exists.
It's the difference between playing it safe and swinging for the fences. So how do we break out of this incremental mindset and start swinging for those game-changing innovations?
Well, this is where Thiel's take on competition gets really interesting. He compares the traditional model of perfect competition
Okay.
to the idea of building a monopoly.
Okay, now we're talking monopolies.
Yeah,
Isn't that usually seen as a bad thing?
it is.
Yeah.
But Thiel flips the script.
Okay.
Think about it. In perfect competition, everyone's selling the same thing. Like a farmer's market flooded with apple vendors.
Right.
The only way to compete is by lowering prices,
Mhm.
which leads to razor-thin profits.
So you're in this constant race to the bottom,
Oh,
just trying to stay afloat. No one's really winning in that scenario.
exactly. But a monopoly, by contrast, has pricing power because they offer something truly unique.
Yeah.
They don't have to engage in that constant cutthroat competition.
Right.
Now, before you think Thiel is advocating for unethical monopolies,
Right.
let's be clear. He's not talking about stifling competition through shady tactics.
He's not talking about price gouging or crushing smaller companies just to be a bully. So what kind of monopolies is he talking about?
He's talking about companies that solve problems so well,
Uh-huh.
so uniquely,
Yeah.
that they create their own category. They become the go-to solution because they offer something so valuable
Right.
that competition becomes almost irrelevant.
He uses a great example in the book. The airline industry versus Google Airlines create a ton of value
Mm-hmm.
by connecting people across the world. But their profits are often slim
Right,
because they're always competing with each other on price.
right.
Google, on the other hand, created something so unique and valuable with their search engine
Yeah.
that they essentially built their own category.
And that allows them to capture more of the value they create. Thiel's point is that truly great companies
Yeah.
aren't focused on simply outmaneuvering the competition.
Right.
They're focused on building something so good
Yeah.
that competition becomes an afterthought. They're playing a different game altogether.
I love that. It's not about winning the existing game. It's about creating a whole new game that you can dominate.
And that leads us to one of Thiel's most thought-provoking arguments, that our obsession with competition itself might be holding us back. Think about it. We're taught to compete from a young age, in school, in sports, for jobs.
It's ingrained in our culture, right? But is that always a good thing?
Thiel argues that this constant focus on competition can distract us from what really matters.
Okay.
Creating something truly new and valuable. We become so focused on beating the person next to us
Right.
that we lose sight of the bigger picture.
That's a really interesting point. It's like we're so busy trying to win the rat race that we forget to ask if we even want to be in the race in the first place. Maybe instead of just trying to be better than everyone else,
Right.
we should be focusing on being different,
Exactly.
on creating something completely new.
And that's where the idea of secrets comes in. Thiel believes that truly great companies are often built on secrets, unique insights that others haven't discovered yet.
Okay, now this sounds intriguing. Secrets,
Yeah.
like some kind of hidden knowledge.
He uses a rather controversial example to illustrate this point. The Unabomber. Now, before you get alarmed,
Right.
Thiel's point is obviously not to endorse the Unabomber's actions.
Right, let's be clear about that.
His point is that even someone as twisted as the Unabomber could have a grasp of certain truths that most people miss. The Unabomber's manifesto, while deeply disturbing, also revealed a surprisingly insightful understanding of human needs and goals.
So are you saying that there are still important truths, secrets out there waiting to be uncovered?
Exactly. Thiel's argument is that if we're willing to look for them, there are still uncharted territories on the map of human knowledge,
Yeah.
and those who dare to explore those areas
Okay.
could potentially make groundbreaking discoveries.
Like there's still a frontier out there, and the pioneers who are willing to venture into the unknown are the ones who will find the real treasures.
And once you've got that secret and that groundbreaking insight,
Yeah.
the next step is to build a strong foundation for your company. And for Thiel, that starts with the people.
He places a huge emphasis on choosing the right co-founders.
Yeah.
He even compares it to getting married.
It's about finding people who not only share your vision, but who you can trust and work with effectively for years to come.
It's a long-term commitment, that's for sure.
And it's not just about getting along. Thiel also stresses the importance of clearly defining ownership,
Okay.
possession, and control within the company from the get-go.
So making sure everyone is clear on who owns what, who's making the day-to-day decisions, and who have the final say. It sounds like laying the groundwork to avoid conflicts down the road,
Exactly.
especially as the company grows.
Speaking of growth, Thiel has something to say about a very common Silicon Valley myth.
Oh.
If you build it, they will come.
Oh, I've heard that one before. But Thiel doesn't buy it, does he?
Not one bit. He's adamant that sales and distribution are absolutely crucial.
Really?
Even if you have the most amazing product in the world.
So you can't just sit back and wait for the customers to roll in.
Nope. You need a strategy to get your product in front of the right people. Thiel emphasizes understanding customer lifetime value, how much a customer is worth to your business over the long term,
Right?
and customer acquisition costs,
Got it.
how much it costs you to acquire a new customer.
It makes sense. You need to make sure you're not spending more money to acquire customers than you're making from them. And this applies to anything, really.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how to get your ideas,
Yeah.
your work, your value out into the world.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something that's on everyone's minds these days. Technology,
Okay.
specifically artificial intelligence and automation. Will robots take our jobs?
It's a question a lot of people are asking.
Oh.
It can be a little unnerving to think about, honestly.
Thiel actually offers a more nuanced perspective.
Okay.
He sees computers and AI as tools
Okay.
that can complement human abilities, not necessarily replace us entirely.
More like partners than competitors.
Exactly. Computers are great at processing data crunching numbers and doing repetitive tasks. Humans, on the other hand, are better at creativity,
Right.
critical thinking, and complex decision-making.
It's like each side brings different strengths to the table.
He gives the example of PayPal's fraud detection system.
Okay.
It combined sophisticated algorithms with human review.
Oh, interesting.
The algorithms could flag suspicious transactions,
Right.
but it was ultimately up to humans to make the final judgment call.
So instead of fearing AI, we should be thinking about how we can work with it.
Yeah.
leverage it to augment our own capabilities.
Now, are you ready for a cautionary tale?
Okay, bring it on.
Thiel uses the clean tech boom and bust of the early 2000s as a case study in what not to do when building a company.
Interesting.
Remember all those clean tech startups that were going to save the planet?
It was a time of great hope and optimism for sure, but a lot of those companies unfortunately didn't succeed.
And Thiel points to some key reasons why. First, your product needs to be significantly better than the competition.
Okay.
He says 10 times better,
Wow.
not just incrementally better.
You have to offer a truly compelling reason for people to switch from what they're already using.
Second, timing matters. Is the market ready for your innovation? Are you too early? A lot of clean tech companies were ahead of their time.
It's a tough balance, right? You don't want to miss the boat, but you also don't want to be so far ahead that no one is ready for what you're offering.
And third, don't underestimate the importance of distribution and a clear plan for the future. A lot of clean tech companies struggled to get their products into the hands of customers.
So they may have had the technology,
Right.
but they didn't have the business side figured out.
And yet, amidst all the clean tech failures, there was one standout success.
Okay, who's that?
Tesla.
Ah, okay.
Thiel highlights Tesla as a company that got it right.
Interesting.
They had a superior product. They entered the market at the right time,
Yeah.
and they had a brilliant founder with a clear vision for the future.
It's proof that even in a challenging industry like clean tech, it is possible to build a wildly successful company
Yes.
if you follow those key principles.
And finally, to wrap up this first part of our deep dive, let's talk about what Thiel calls the founder's paradox. What makes a successful founder? Thiel believes they're often outsiders,
Okay.
people who don't quite fit in with the mainstream.
People who see the world a little differently,
Yeah.
who question the status quo.
They have a unique perspective,
Yeah.
a willingness to challenge conventions, and an ability to spot opportunities that others miss. But here's the paradox. That very quality that makes them successful can also make them targets when things go wrong.
So they're celebrated for their vision when things are going well, but they're often the first to be blamed when things fall apart.
It's a double-edged sword. And Thiel challenges us to embrace this paradox, to be both different and effective, to stand out from the crowd while still building something truly impactful.
That's a great place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground already, from the nature of progress to the founder's paradox. But we're just getting started. Stick with us as we continue to unpack the key insights from 0 to 1. Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dives into Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. And in this part, we're going to get even more tactical, focusing on how you can actually apply Thiel's ideas to your own work and life.
Sounds good.
That's right. We've talked about the importance of thinking big, of aiming for vertical progress, of challenging the status quo. But how do you actually translate those ideas into concrete actions?
Well, Thiel has a lot to say about that. One of the key things he emphasizes is the importance of building a strong foundation for your company. And a big part of that is choosing the right people.
Yeah.
He really hammers home the point that picking your co-founders is one of the most critical decisions you'll make.
He actually compares it to getting married, which might sound a little dramatic, but it makes sense. You're going to be spending countless hours together, facing challenges, making tough decisions. It's essential to find people who not only share your vision, but who you can trust, respect, and work with effectively for years to come.
It's about compatibility, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also about making sure everyone is on the same page from the start.
Right.
Absolutely. And Thiel is very specific about this. He stresses the need to clearly define ownership, possession, and control within the company from the outset.
Okay, so who owns what?
Right.
Who's making the day-to-day decisions? Who has the ultimate authority?
It's about setting clear expectations
Yeah.
and avoiding potential conflicts down the road.
You can imagine how things could get messy if those lines aren't clearly drawn.
Exactly. And speaking of avoiding messiness, Thiel has some strong words for a very common Silicon Valley myth.
Oh, what's that?
If you build it, they will come.
I feel like I've heard that line in a movie somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
It sounds nice, but is it realistic?
Thiel would say absolutely not. He is incredibly clear that sales and distribution are essential.
Okay.
Even if you have the most incredible product in the world, you can't just sit back and expect customers to magically find you.
You have to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
But how do you do that effectively, especially when you're starting out?
Thiel emphasizes the importance of understanding two key metrics:
Or what are those?
customer lifetime value
Okay.
and customer acquisition cost.
Okay, let's break those down. Customer lifetime value.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how much a customer is worth to your business over the long term.
Exactly. It takes into account how much they spend, how often they buy,
Okay.
and how long they stay loyal to your brand.
And customer acquisition cost is how much it costs you to get each new customer.
Mm.
So you're looking at things like marketing expenses, sales efforts, that kind of thing.
Precisely. And the key is to make sure your customer lifetime value is significantly higher than your customer acquisition cost.
Okay.
You want to be making more money from your customers than you're spending to acquire them.
It's a basic business sense, but it's easy to get caught up in building a great product and forget about the economics of actually getting it into people's hands.
That's a trap a lot of companies fall into.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just about businesses either. Think about any project you're working on,
Uh-huh.
any skill you're trying to develop. It's not enough to just be good.
Right.
You have to be able to get your work, your talent, your value out into the world.
It's about understanding how to market yourself, how to connect with your audience, how to build relationships.
Absolutely. Now let's switch gears and talk about something that's on a lot of people's minds these days.
What's that?
The rise of artificial intelligence
Right?
and automation. Some people see this as a threat,
Yeah.
but Thiel actually offers a more optimistic perspective.
It's definitely a topic that sparks a lot of debate. Will
For-
robots take our jobs?
Mm-hmm.
Is AI going to take over the world?
Well, Thiel sees computers and AI as tools that can complement human abilities,
Okay.
not necessarily replace them entirely.
So a partnership rather than a competition.
Exactly. He points out that computers are great at processing vast amounts of data, crunching numbers,
Yeah.
and doing repetitive tasks.
Right.
Humans, on the other hand, excel at things like creativity,
Okay.
critical thinking,
Yeah.
and making complex decisions.
So it's about playing to each other's strengths.
He uses a great example from his own experience with PayPal. They had a sophisticated fraud detection system
Okay.
that used algorithms to flag suspicious transactions,
Right.
but it was still up to human operators to make the final judgment call.
It's a powerful example of how human intelligence and artificial intelligence can work together to create a more effective and secure system.
Right.
And it challenges us to rethink the way we approach technology. Instead of fearing AI, maybe we should be thinking about how we can leverage its power to augment our own capabilities.
It's about finding ways to use technology to enhance our creativity,
Yeah.
our problem-solving abilities, our ability to make a positive impact on the world.
Now, Thiel also uses the clean tech boom and bust of the early 2000s as a cautionary tale, highlighting some common mistakes that entrepreneurs make.
Right.
It was a time of great excitement about clean energy and sustainable technologies.
Yeah.
But a lot of those companies, unfortunately, didn't succeed. What went wrong?
Thiel points to a few key factors.
Yeah?
First, he emphasizes the importance of having a product that's significantly better than the competition.
Okay.
He says 10 times better,
Wow.
not just incrementally better.
You need to offer a truly compelling reason for customers to switch from what they're already using, especially if it involves changing habits or adopting new technologies.
Exactly. And second, timing matters.
Right.
Is the market ready for your innovation? Are you too early? A lot of clean tech companies were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
The technology wasn't quite there yet, or the cost was too high, or consumer demand wasn't strong enough.
It's like being a musician who releases an album before anyone is ready to hear that kind of music. You might be brilliant, but if the audience isn't there, it's not going to work.
And third, you can't underestimate the importance of distribution and a clear plan for the future.
Right.
A lot of clean tech companies struggled to get their products into the hands of customers. They also lacked a clear vision for how they were going to scale their business and become profitable.
It sounds like they were so focused on the technology itself that they neglected the business fundamentals.
And yet, amidst all the clean tech failures, there was one notable success story.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Thiel points to Tesla as an example of a company that got it right. They had a superior product, they entered the market at the right time, and they had a brilliant founder with a clear vision for the future.
It's a reminder that even in a challenging industry like clean tech, it's possible to build a wildly successful company if you follow those key principles.
Now let's wrap up this part of our deep dive with one final thought-provoking concept.
What's that?
The founder's paradox. What makes a successful founder? Thiel believes they're often outsiders, people who don't quite fit in with the mainstream.
People who see the world a little differently,
Exactly.
who question the status quo.
They have a unique perspective, a willingness to challenge conventions, and an ability to spot opportunities that others miss. But here's the paradox.
Okay, what is it?
That very quality that makes them successful can also make them targets when things go wrong.
So they're celebrated for their vision when things are going well, but they're often the first to be blamed when things fall apart.
It's a double-edged sword. And Thiel challenges us to embrace this paradox,
Okay.
to be both different and effective, to stand out from the crowd while still building something truly impactful.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to explore what all of this means for you and how you can apply these powerful insights from 0 to 1 to your own life and work. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into 0 to 1. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
Exploring Peter Thiel's insights on everything from the nature of progress to the importance of finding your own unique path.
Right.
But here's the big question.
Okay.
How does all of this apply to you?
Right.
What can you take away from this book that will actually help you in your own life and work?
Well, one of the key takeaways for me is the power of thinking big.
Okay.
Thiel constantly challenges us to question assumptions, to push beyond the limits of what we think is possible.
Right.
He wants us to aim for those 0 to 1 moments, those leaps forward that create something truly new and valuable.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, to focus on incremental improvements and just trying to keep up with everyone else.
Yeah.
But Thiel reminds us that there's so much more potential out there.
It's about having the courage to ask those big questions, to pursue those audacious ideas that might seem crazy at first.
Right.
Remember, every groundbreaking innovation started as someone's seemingly impossible dream.
And another big takeaway for me is the importance of finding your own unique path. Thiel talks about how competition can sometimes distract us from creating truly valuable things. We get so focused on beating the person next to us that we forget to ask if we're even running in the right direction.
He encourages us to embrace the idea of the founder's paradox.
Right.
To be both different and effective. It's about finding your own unique strengths, your own unique perspective, and using those to create something that only you could create.
It's about not being afraid to stand out from the crowd, to be a little bit weird, a little bit unconventional. Because those are often the qualities that lead to truly groundbreaking innovations. Now, I know some of this might sound a bit abstract, so let's get a little more practical.
Okay.
What are some concrete steps people can take to start applying these ideas?
Well, one thing you can do is start by identifying your secrets. What are those unique insights? Those pieces of knowledge, those experiences that you have that others don't? What problems are you uniquely positioned to solve?
It could be anything. A passion you've had since you were a kid, a skill you've honed over years of practice, a perspective that you've gained from your unique life experiences.
And once you've identified your secrets, think about how you can use them to create something truly valuable.
Maybe it's starting a business, writing a book, launching a new project, or even just changing the way you approach your work.
The key is to think big, to be bold, and to be relentlessly focused on creating value. And don't forget the importance of sales and distribution. It's not just about having a great idea. It's about getting that idea out into the world, connecting with the right people, and making sure your value is recognized.
It's about building relationships, mastering the art of communication, and understanding how to effectively market yourself and your work.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't just about startups or entrepreneurship. Thiel's insights can be applied to any area of life. Your career, your relationships, your personal growth. It's about having the courage to challenge assumptions, to think differently.
To create something truly meaningful.
It's about leaving your mark on the world, about contributing something unique and valuable that only you could contribute. So as we wrap up this deep dive into 0 to 1, we want to leave you with one final thought. What's your 0 to 1? What's that one thing that you're uniquely equipped to create that no one else can replicate?
It's out there waiting for you to discover it. And once you do, don't be afraid to go for it. Embrace the founder's paradox. Think big, be bold, and create something extraordinary. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. And remember, the journey from 0 to 1 starts with a single step. What will yours be?